Please start.
Uh, Good morning, all. My thesis title is Photocatalytic Degradation Properties of Bismuth Vanadate, Titanium Dioxide Nanocomposite Heterostructures and their application. And this is the content of my presentation, which include objective and the previous work presented until the predoctoral, introduction, methodology, results and discussion, conclusion, and the publications. And objective of my whole work is includes the synthesis of nanocomposites by a Solgel methodology and characterization of the nanocomposites and usage of those nanocomposites for the contaminant degradation and also fabrication of films using the nanocomposites, as well as another strategy of forming a layer by layer deposition, and also application of the deposited films for the contaminant degradation. So here I present the work I have presented until my predoctoral. So here is the brief description on it. I have implemented a Solgel methodology for the synthesis of bismuth vanadate and titanium dioxide nanocomposite, considering it as a low temperature process, which also considering its high purity, stoichiometry, and homogeneity of the final product. And also presented the characterization and applications for their application in the contaminant degradation that I have chosen acid blue 113 as a model organic contaminant, as well as arsenic as a heavy metal contaminant. And for the acid blue degradation, I have synthesized three different sets of nanocomposites 0.5, 0.5, 0.2, 0.8, and 0.8, 0.2 with different ratio of the molarity, and they have shown good results, good crystal and band gap properties. And since the aim was to have a band gap engineered material, the results were very much satisfying, since they observed a good visible shift in the band gaps of synthesized material, and also good behavior on the crystalline and grain properties. They observed good an inverse relation between the band gap and crystallite size, and due to some quantum confinement effects from the small crystallite size. And in the case of arsenic removal, I have synthesized another set of composites that with different percentage of bismuth vanadate, that is from 0.5 percentage to 2.5 percentage, that is 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, and 2.5 percentage. And the experimental optimization was carried out using a central composite design and a surface response methodology with a 20 set of experiments with the dosage, percentage of bismuth vanadate, and also pH as different parameters for the analysis. And in both cases, I could observe a good removal of the contaminant. And in the case of organic dye with a nanocomposite dosage of 5 gram per liter, they observed a complete degradation within 20 minutes of irradiation. Whereas for arsenic, with an optimum concentration of 1.5 gram per liter of nanocomposites, I could observe a complete removal within 1 hour of irradiation. And that was the work I have done until my predoctoral. And moving to the introduction, we know that during a normal catalysis process, there occurs the acceleration of a reaction using a chemical compound which is known as catalyst, which directly will not take part in the reaction, but it accelerates the reaction. Like that, in photocatalysis, the light accelerates the reaction. And basically, the photocatalysis is the conversion of solar energy into chemical energy. And it has several applications, from an environmental application to the medical applications. So, my topic of interest is the water purification, which is an environmental application in the water treatment realm. Um, and I have considered this due to the continued soar in the water pollution, which could result in a severe water crisis, as reported by the World Economic Forum. They have reported that water crisis is going to be in its hike in the next 10 years. So in order to begin the process, I have chosen a photocatalyst, that is titanium dioxide, considering its abundance, non-toxicity, stability in aqueous phase, and also the low cost. But still, it has some disadvantages, such as higher band gap, fast recombination rate that limits its application in the UV range, and also the recombination rate is another limiting factor, the fast recombination rate. So there are several methodologies available for the remediation of these problems that include the coupling. The catalyst can be coupled with another semiconductor which is having a narrow band gap, or it can have iron or metal ion doping, co-doping, surface sensitization, and also noble metal deposition like that. But I have chosen a coupling of titanium dioxide with a lower band gap semiconductor, and chosen bismuth vanadium considering its good stability, non-toxicity, and also considering its availability, since because Mexico is the second largest producer of bismuth in the world. So in the normal mechanism that happens for a photocatalyst is when the light irradiates over the nanocomposite material, when the band gap when the energy of the light incidence is greater than or equal to the band gap of the material, the electron hole pairs are created, and these electron hole pairs constitute for the reduction and oxidation reactions. That is in the case of a single material. So when it is coupled with another one, there can have two processes. That is, the irradiated light can initiate the similar electron hole pair formation, and hence the redox reactions, as well as the electrons electron hole pair induced, and the electrons can be transferred from the conduction band of one to the another, so that there can be a lag before having the recombination reactions. So there we can reduce the recombination time, so that to have a more efficient photocatalyst by reducing the recombination rate. And still, there is demerits of using nanoparticles as it is for the water purification, since there can be loss of photocatalyst during the process, and also the separation and recovery of the powder catalyst that can increase the cost of the whole process. So I have thought to have I thought to have films for the application part. So I have chosen for the deposition, I have chosen an RF sputtering method. Uh, the basic idea of the process is when we supply an external power, the ions are generated, uh, and these ions can bombard with the target atoms, and which in turn ejects the atoms from the target surface. Uh, and these can be transferred to the substrate surface, and further the atoms may condense over the substrates to form films. So, and also there are several advantages for this methodology. That is, by this method, we can deposit non-conducting and semiconducting films, because it doesn't cause any charge accumulation on the surface of the target as in another methodologies. And also we can have low temperature deposition, and also good adhesion of the films over the substrate, and also good rate of deposition can be obtained, and the thickness over the substrate can be uniform. We can ensure the uniformity of the thickness of the film, and parameters can be controlled, and also the deposition can be scalable to large areas. And moving to the methodology, here is how I have prepared the targets and did the deposition. So the nanocomposite sol gel, nanocomposites material which I have synthesized by the Sol-Gel methodology under a 9-ton pressure. I have compressed it into a pellet and annealed it and then introduced into the sputtering chamber. And after the deposition, I have annealed the films in order to have the proper phase growth. And I have used two different substrates, that is aluminum phosphate ceramic substrate and a boroflat substrate. And I have used two different strategies for fabricating film. That is, one, I have deposited a layered heterojunction film, that is, the titanium dioxide have deposited over bismuth vanadate. And in another case, I have deposited the nanocomposite, which I have synthesized by Sol-Gel methodology directly onto the substrate. In the case of layered film, I have used two different target, which was prepared directly from the titanium dioxide anatase powder and the bismuth vanadate nanopowders separately. And here is the photocatalytic experimental methodology. This is the first figure is the experimental setup which I have used. And here the black color box, this is the reactor, and here it is the inside picture of the reactor, and inside there is a xenon lamp and also a photoreactor, and this system is connected with the temperature control system in order to reduce the heating from the lamp. And we know that when we use a contaminant with a color, it can the degradation percentage we used to measure by measuring the maximum absorbance peak of the dye. So each dye can have, or each contaminants with color, they can have a certain absorption peaks. So in case of methylene blue, the peak was at 668, which was the reference. Moving to the results and discussion, here I just wanted to show you the structure of the nanocomposite which I have used, because the other characterizations I have presented for the until my predoctoral. And here is the structure of the nanocomposite 0.5, which I have chosen for the deposition of nanocomposite film. And you can see a clear distribution of atomic planes. These are the enlarged images from the region A and B. And there we can see three different regions, A, B, and C. And the theoretician in our group has simulated the corresponding FFT patterns. That are these two. That is corresponding to monoclinic bismuth vanadate M211 and also 004 for titanium dioxide anatase phase. And he has simulated this and the planes by a Material Studio software. And they observed a superimposition of both models in the FFT simulated image from the area C. And these types of superimposed structures can be evidenced as the formation of junction-like structures. And moving to the optimization process, this I have done for the film deposition. So I have, before starting the main experiment, I have considered different parameters such as chamber atmosphere, RF power, annealing temperature, and also deposited over different substrate. So the 0.5 nanocomposite was chosen as the target, and the optimization of the chamber atmosphere has been done. So I have used different types of gas, and also the pressure has varied, and because it can affect the rate of sputtering as well as the properties of the deposited films. The sputtering gases are chosen in such a way that it should not react with the targets, and hence we can signify the use of noble gases. So I have used argon, considering it is widely used and it's considering its cost and availability. So from the XRD and Raman results, it can be seen that I have observed an initiation of the crystal growth when I have used pure argon and argon with a substrate temperature of 500 degrees Celsius. In both cases, we can see that. But I have chosen the pure argon condition because in both cases, after the deposition, I have to anneal it in order to have a crystal growth, and the results were same. So I have chosen argon alone condition to have a low energy consumption. Here is the optimization of the annealing temperature in the left side. Which was done as an in situ annealing inside the X-ray diffractometer. And the experiment was carried out from low temperature, the 100 degrees Celsius to 700 degrees Celsius. And it has been found that the crystallite growth has started above 550 degrees Celsius. And then carried out the optimization of the incident power. So I have chosen 3 different powers, 25, 50 and 75 watts. At 25 watts, the intensity of the phases, the ground phases were not so high. It was comparatively lesser. So this could be due to the lower power, which generates a small number of sputtered atoms available, and also can be due to very low kinetic energy, due to the low sputtering power and due to the very low kinetic energy of the particle, which is not enough to reach the substrate surface. And at this 75 watts, you can see also I couldn't observe the formation of all the desired phases. So this can be due to the higher collision rates due to higher power between the sputtered atom, and which in turn limits the kinetic energy of particles due to the collision. So at a moderate power of 50 watts, they observe the formation of desired anatase and monoclinic crystalline phases, as you can see. And hence I have chosen 50 watts as an optimum power for the efficient deposition. And I have deposited the films on different substrate. I have chosen 4 different substrate. Here I have mentioned quartz and silicon substrate, and also I have used BK7, that is the boroflats, and as well as aluminum phosphate ceramic substrate also. But in here you can see in both cases of quartz and silicon substrate, I could observe good crystalline phases, but there observed a peeling of behavior in both cases, as well as in the case of silicon, the photocatalytic efficiency was also less. So I had to go for another substrates that I have chosen. BK7, that is the boroflat substrate, and the ceramic substrate, where they have shown good stability of the films over the substrate, as well as good crystalline phase, and also good response towards the photocatalysis. So I have chosen these 2 substrates. And here you can see the structure and crystalline behavior of the films from the X-ray diffractograms. This is for the layered film and this is for the nanocomposite films. And it can be seen that the films are well crystallized with all significant peaks from anatase and titanium dioxide, titanium dioxide and monoclinic bismuth vanadate. And also the FWHM and crystallite size have shown similarity for the similar materials irrespective of the substrates. So in the case of layered films, they are observed a crystallite size around 8.7 8 nanometer with an FWHM of 0.9692, and crystallite size for a composite film is around 10.97 nanometer with an FWHM of 0.775, and hence I could say the good crystal features of the films have obtained. So, and the chemical structure, phase and crystallinity analysis have done using the Raman spectra. And here Here from the Raman spectrographs, the vibrations from both bismuth vanadate and titanium dioxide can be seen, and the peak at 145, which is the significant one for titanium dioxide anatase phase, and the peak at 821, that is here also 821. This is the significant one for the monoclinic bismuth vanadate phase. And I could see good crystallinity of the films as observed from the corresponding intensity of the peaks, and also they observed a decrease in peak intensity for the films deposited over BK7 substrate compared to the ceramic substrate, and this could be due to the porous nature of the ceramic material, since it can have more active sites for atoms to get attached compared to the BK7. So that can have more deposited matter on the BK7 substrate. Here I just wanted to show you the mapping analysis that I have done using the Raman spectroscopy. And the mapping image corresponds to the significant vibrations of both titanium dioxide and bismuth vanadate, and we have done a mapping for each band. That is, here you can see the distribution of titanium dioxide corresponding to the band at 144, and here is the distribution for bismuth vanadate corresponding to the band at 826. And I could see a homogeneous distribution of, because it was along an area of 20 by 20 micrometer square, and I could see a good distribution, homogeneous distribution of both phases along the film. So here is the band gap analysis of the films, and they observed significant changes in the measured band gaps of each film, because the film with composite structure have shown a band gap of 2.88 electron volt, and that of layered films have shown a 2.48 electron volt. Here I could see a good visible response in the band gap values compared to the parent TiO2 material. And this could be due to the good crystallite behavior also, because they observed a good small crystallite size from the XRD analysis. And here is the atomic force micrograph of the films. You can see both two-dimensional and three-dimensional surfaces are illustrated, and the surface profile parameters such as roughness, peak to valley height, etc. are measured, and also shape factors such as kurtosis and squeakiness are also reported. And it is found that an average grain size for the layered film is found to be 30 nanometer, whereas that of the nanocomposite is found to be 20. The difference between the peak and valley is considered as a measure of roughness of the film, and in the case of nanocomposite film, they observed a comparatively higher roughness of 60 nanometer compared to the layered film, and the shape parameters, squeakiness and kurtosis is also obtained, and it's reported that if the squeakiness value is negative, which indicates a good bearing surface, and it is observed for the layered films. And kurtosis is another shape parameter that which says about the shape or morphology of the films. So it is reported that if the kurtosis value is greater than 3, which corresponding to a spiky nature of the surface, and if it is less than 3, it is corresponding to a bumpy surface. So and similar corresponding to this, a similar morphology has obtained. That is, for the nanocomposite film, this surface seems to be little bumpy, whereas for the layered film, the surface is spiky. So the morphology was in agreement with the results. And here is the rate of deposition, which I have measured through profilometry. I have measured the thickness of each films, and they observed a thickness around 6 micrometer for the nanocomposite film, and to around 2 micrometer for the layered film. Because I have done the deposition at with the deposition time of 10 hours and observed a rate of deposition of 600 nanometers per hour for the nanocomposite film, and 200 nanometer per hour rate for the layered film. And here is the 10 micrographs for the depositor films. So this is the nanocomposite, the first image here. This is the nanocomposite deposited over the BK7 and ceramic substrate. And there observe the planes from both anatase and monoclinic phases with corresponding to the standard JCPDS. And this is the 10 micrograph for the layered film with an overlap planes from both monoclinic and anatase phase in both cases, because in both cases you can see the indexed one with yellow is corresponding to the bismuth vanadate, and in the white it is corresponding to titanium dioxide. So in both cases I could see an overlap between the planes from both monoclinic and anatase phase. This similar behavior I have observed for the nanocomposite powder sample, which I have shown before in the beginning, where we have confirmed the formation of a junction between both phases. So, yeah. Moving to the application, I have used these deposited films for the degradation of methylene blue dye, which I have taken as a model organic compound, which belongs to the azo groups. So the layered film deposited over both substrate have shown a degradation around 90% that you can see here. These are the layered films, and also the blue one is the film, nanocomposite film deposited over the BK7 substrate. And the nanocomposite film deposited over the BK7 substrate was shown less activity. So here I could say, in that case, between the nanocomposite film deposited between these two substrates, I could say the one deposited over ceramic have shown better activity. This could be due to the effect from the substrate, because the substrate was so porous, and as well as the substrate material is aluminum phosphate, and the substrate alone has shown some activity. So the comparable efficiency of the nanocomposite film could be, from one extent, could be from effect from the substrate. So when I compare the films deposited over the BK7 substrate, the nanocomposite film was showing lesser activity compared to the layer film which is deposited over the BK7, and this could be due to the fact that the film deposited, the layered film was having a band gap of 2.48, that is that is lower compared to that of the nanocomposite films, and also this can contribute toward the better efficiency, better degradation percentage I have observed. And also the films were showing good crystallite behavior compared to the parent materials. So these reduced crystallite size can make more number of crystallites available per unit area, which can in turn contribute to the efficiency of the material. And also these deposited material, I have used it for a reusability test. I have done a reusability test using these materials, and I could see an activity efficiency of not less than 80% of for the layered composite as well as the nanocomposite films. So here I could confirm the good reusability of the films also. So moving to the conclusion, I have synthesized the nanocomposite by a Sol-Gel methodology, which has shown good visible light response and crystallite behavior, and that was deposited by RF sputtering method to make it films. And this stoichiometry I have chosen since it has shown good response towards the methylene blue degradation. And I have adapted two different strategies for the fabrication of deposition of films. That is a nanocomposite, as I have mentioned before, as well as a layer by layer deposition of bismuth vanadate and titanium dioxide for achieving a heterojunction structured film. And the photocatalytic degradation of methylene blue has performed and using both films and obtained about 90% degradation in 180 minutes by the layered junction film. And good performance can be due to its enhanced band gap properties, crystalline and grain properties. And also the reusability of the films have been tested, and the degradation has shown above 80%, confirming the efficient reusability of the films. And here is the courses I have attended in Sinvesta and Le Mans University, France. And moving to the publications, one of my articles got accepted, and I am underwriting another two, and I am contributing towards a book chapter and a review article, and also towards a patent. And here is the conference details. I have presented an oral presentation in an international conference, as well as these are my poster presentation details. Yes, thank you all. That's all.